Hello everyone, welcome for this new edition of the PachaMamArt Encyclopedia. Today we are talking about Operation Epic Fury. This is Fanny Menardi and I am here accompanied with my little angel Carl and our little demon Rob. Thank you Rob for telling me to fix my hair today so I can look a little more presentable, put on a jacket, so we could be ready for our new conference. So today we're talking about this very controversial topic, which is Israel. As many of you know, on October 7, 2023, Hamas attacked Israel with violent, aggressive attacks. They burnt people, they burnt babies. That was very, very violent. And this was the beginning of a war between Israel and the Palestine, which has been fighting for many years to be recognized as a state. So you know that Jerusalem, Israel, all this is sacred land that they've been fighting for aeons. This is literally has been forever. So we don't know how to solve this fight. They have groups complaining that Israel is trying to expand their territory. At the same time, we understand that Israel is in a Muslim continent. So Israel has to protect their community from the monopoly of the Muslim communities. But at the same time, they have been accused of trying to expand aggressively, and which led to the creation of opposition groups all around Israel, which is Hamas in Palestine, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and the Houthis in somewhere over there in the Ukraine. I think it's in Iran. But all around this region, they have these groups that their strategy is to separate, to weaken the positions of the Israeli army on one flank to be able to kind of surround them. So it's really, really difficult to take a side because these people are trying to defend their culture, right? They're trying to defend the land where they were born in Palestine. But at the same time, they've been very aggressive. There has been, terrorist attacks here in the United States. There has been terrorist attacks all around Israel. But when you look at the history, Israel has been, at least Prime Minister Netanyahu has been promoting the extermination of Palestine, the disappearance of Palestine since the beginning of his career. So it's like a lifelong obsession that he has on defending the Jews, contrarily to what Donald Trump says, because President Trump says that Prime Minister Netanyahu is doing a great job, he's being mistreated, he's governing in the wartime. This is wrong. This is this entire career that he's been saying the same thing, that Palestine is a non-legit state, that they have to go to Jordan, because this is a land that is for Palestinians. So, all right, if we stick to the fact that we tried to exterminate the terrorists that committed those aggressions on October 7th, we should look at what the United States is doing right now in Iran, where they are targeting specific military facilities and they have minimal civilian casualties. It's a very quick war where they just disable their military. On the contrary, you look at Israel, it's been an ongoing war for 3 years now, where they're killing everyone. They're not targeting Hamas, only Hamas. They're targeting all the civilians. They've done a blockade all around the country where the United Nations trucks were not allowed to enter to bring out humanitarian relief, medical relief, food assistance, all these essential things for them to just survive. And now they're changing their laws even to be able to just put them to death. So this is literally a genocide that has been condemned by the ICJ, the International Court of Criminal Court of Justice. Every single country in Europe, you have Russia, South Africa, Spain, Italy, Brazil, how many more countries? France also have denounced what's going on in Israel, and the guy keeps going, and he's just putting the United States as a shield in front of them, saying, oh, these extremists, they're just going to attack the United States. No, they're not. They're not attacking the United States. They're only attacking Israel. And now we have conspiracy theories, like investigations at least, wondering where those weapons came from, because those people are fanatics. They're crazy. They would be able to leak weapons to their opposition, little bit of weapons, just to be able to push them to do an attack against their own civilians, just to justify the massive response that they're going to be able to take over the whole land, to rebuild their whole golden new city in Gaza. So for me, what we're witnessing right now, this is absolutely unacceptable. This is probably the only one point that I disagree with right now with the Trump government. My whole book is about promoting them, campaigning for them for the Nobel Peace Prize, because really, 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 it is essential to combat terrorism and violence and extremism around the world, dictatorships, and this is everything that they're doing. We know that they're messengers of gods. They've been, these people are sacred, they are compassionate, extremely intelligent. But this association with Israel, I do not support. So yes, cleaning up the Middle East is a first step, but we need to have a justice for not respecting the several calls to ceasefires. Every time Donald Trump has asked Israel to implement a ceasefire between them and the countries around it, it has not been respected every single time. Like, the guy thinks he can just do whatever he wants, and it's hundreds of thousands of people. I think it's 100,000 people that have been murdered, and the numbers are not really reliable. So let's look at this file that I've built all about Israel, and I'm gonna try to not stay too long for this one because I've talked about it many times. So swipe up to explore the area, all right? You want to know what's going on? Just clean everything out, kill everyone, and then just rebuild the way you like it. Easy peasy, right? Unless you're born there and it's your kids they're killing. Disgusting. Restoring peace in the Middle East. I can just ignore. Okay, better view here. Okay, so through art, do you think these people are sensitive to art? I don't think so, seriously. They are destroying everything. They don't care about the cultural heritage that's happening there. But luckily, we have our own who are sensitive and who are listening to other perspectives and who are, evolving their strategies as we go and as we see the behavior. So this is a map because, many of us talk about this, but we don't even know the exact map. I had to double check exactly the map of the Middle East, even though I've lived there. I've lived right here in this little island in Bahrain right now, right there. This Bahrain, on the off the coast of Saudi Arabia. Israel is right there. You have the Gaza Strip right here, and the United States right now. Can you see? Let me put it up. Can you see the mouse? Yes. Israel is right here, and the Strait of Hormuz is right here, right there. This is where the United States are right now, and they're combating Iran. Okay, so you have Syria and Iraq here in the middle. So you don't really know why there is this ongoing tension between Israel and Iran. They're not even neighbors. So what are they fighting for? We don't really know. But I guess this is all political. And the weapon trafficking, it just creates an economy. So every time you think you can't sleep at night because you're sad for all these these poor people, defenseless people. There are people in the middle who don't give a shit, really, because they just want to make money out of poor communities that they feel are not bringing anything to society. So the Board of Peace, Donald Trump, Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, Vice President of the United States, the Argentinian President. I don't know any of these other people right there, but I think they're heads of countries from Middle East. We might have, this is probably Pakistan, that I know are working really closely with the United States. So this is a great incentive. Like literally we can say that President Trump is not trying. Like he's doing everything. His international involvement is off the charts. They're really trying to bring our resources and capabilities all around the world to fix things that people criticize but never really step in to fix. The strategic peace process, transitioning from war to peace, from oil to clean energies, and to start a denuclearization program won't be easy. But with people you trust for anything, it becomes possible. So the USA is investing $10 billion into the Board of Peace to serve notably Gaza and the United Nations. President Trump's team is strengthening ties and diplomatic relationships with all countries, mostly the difficult ones, to address the wars in Israel and Russia. So, now that I'm not going to work in Paris, I'm not going anywhere, I'm just staying here in my mountain. It's easy to find me, so I don't want people to slow down their goals and their strategy to make things right just because we're waiting on something. Like, just do what you got to do, and some of us are going to fall in the process of killing those criminals, but they have to go. This is just disgusting what's happening. I can't take it anymore. I removed my X account. I can't take it anymore to see all these kids being killed every day. I know looking away is not going to fix it, but personally, it just makes me in a state of mind that I'm angry, outraged every day. I want to throw up every day when I wake up and I think about this guy who's still alive while they're torturing kids in front of It's not even like, yes, it pisses me off what they're doing, but what pisses me off more, like literally outraged, is that the world is watching and they're not interfering. That's what just freaking strikes me. It's like these women who are getting raped in the subway and people are just either leaving or staring or just ignoring because they're scared of being hurt in the process. Like, the United States, they are the most courageous. Like I said, they are the ones who step in the world's worst places to fix things and try to help. So now Israel is the big bad guy. Like we suspect that they have nuclear weapons, and this is why they just keep acting with impunity. The difference with Russia, Russia also is hiding behind their nuclear weapon to continue the war in Ukraine, but Russia is targeting the military forces. It's a military war. It's not a war against civilians. And Russia is trying to come back to the international community. They're really contributing with medicine and all this stuff. Israel is not contributing to anything. Yeah, they're contributing to anti-terrorism missions, but that they say are terrorists. Like, we really don't know everything. Like I said, how did the weapons leak to those terrorist groups? It's always some nasty, twisted strategies to have it their ways. Yes, so I'm just really, really over this. And mostly when you see very smart people, intelligent, like Netanyahu is very intelligent, he's a master of speech. He's able to twist people's minds every time he opens his mouth. I always agree with Netanyahu every time he speaks, because he speaks and he's just so convincing that you would agree with him. Literally, very smart man. But just look at the actions, though. Just look at the actions. They're killing children. They're killing family. They're starving them. Because what? Because they're not an asset for society. They're not smart enough, actually. When you follow them on X, you see there's a lot of educated people. And most people that I follow and support, it's like this guy, he never showed like hate, despite everything that was happening. He was just asking for compassion and trying to show what they're doing, and they look very civilized. And those who don't look civilized is the Israeli military, that you see them doing the most horrendous thing, and they're being taught. Imagine the kind of inhuman beings that they're raising, that it's normal to go and kill Palestinian kids, it's normal to rape kids, it's normal to torture them. Like, how can we shake hands with this mass murderer? I don't get it. I don't understand. Help me, because is this a strategy? Like, first we're using them to exterminate terrorism, and then we're going to bring him to justice? Or are they really allies, and they have like BlackRock and societies, like real estate companies and things that have already bought the land. They already have their real estate projects. They already have their $1 billion investment to rebuild. And well, too bad if the people in the middle were killed. But like I said, unless you're the one who's born there and you have to live like this, if 1/10 of what they're doing in Israel would happen to America, oh my God. Like, this would be unacceptable. Like, we look, the immigrants, they're coming, the general attorney, is that the procurator in Washington? She was complaining about kids who messed up Chipotle. I agree. Those parents are not raising their kids right. I agree. It's unacceptable. But they're throwing chairs around, right? And we're saying that we're going to prosecute them with the harshest consequences for throwing chairs around. But Israel, who's torturing, killing kids, 100,000 kids, killing them, torturing them online, and we're shaking hands with them? I don't get it. I just don't get it. So please help me understand why these amazing people right here and right here, all our Americans, are having this rat, cockroach of Netanyahu here in America, and even having an opinion on international negotiations. That's crazy. So yes, I'm hoping that this will help transform the public mind a little bit. And like I said, one of the main goals of the United States is to combat terrorism, to make the regions safe before they reach to us. This is perfectly understandable. This has been Marco Rubio's speech for many years. They want to support Israel, but I think that the videos that we've seen is a whole different side of the story that we have to take into account. So here we have a post from the Nobel Prize Committee, who is talking about nonviolent politics. These events led us to a strong reflection on nonviolent politics. When you see people like Gandhi or the Dalai Lama, Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King Jr., or the Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Guterres, that I admire, all of them, being globally recognized for their quality as gentle peacemakers and mediators, trying to stay neutral in conflicts to avoid escalations. Because, of course, the UN has to stay neutral, because if they start taking sides, they're going to make one of the sides angrier, and they're trying to avoid that. They're avoiding escalation. The problem is that this process only concerns intelligent and civilized people. When you have Extremists, undereducated communities, barbarians brainwashed by their leaders, or the victims of transgenerational oppression, they don't care a single minute about the rest of the world or about the consequences of their action. A lot of traumatized people and opposition groups such as Hezbollah or Hamas see no other option than killing for revenge when justice is not doing its job. So here we have the both sides. On the one side, yes, we have to go and kill those terrorists. But on the other side, you also have to think of the reason why those opposition groups, sometimes they have no other option than killing for revenge. Because we see that the ICG right now is not efficient. So meanwhile, civilians trust those groups to protect them. But if they truly cared, they would stop endangering their peers. This is another thing, though. Hezbollah, Hamas, they were elected by Palestinians to protect them against Israeli expansion. These are groups, so when people are desperate, they want someone who understands them. They want someone who protects them. Okay? So when you have a group like Hamas who say, we're going to protect you from Israel, we're going to defend you, we're going to fight for you, the people put their trust in them. So they voted for them, they trusted them. But if they really cared, if Hamas really cared about Palestinians, they would have never done such actions that is endangering their peers. You understand what I'm saying? So it's very, very complicated. But I think the best example we can take to solve this is just to look at the operation, the name of the operation in Iran. What was it? Midnight Hammer or Epic Fury? Sorry, Epic Fury in Iran. Just target military facilities, target the extremist groups or your opponents, and just trying to spare civilians. It's difficult to have clean wars. There are accidents, but you can't just mass murder a whole population because you want their land. Yeah, so it's high time to restore respect, not only towards America as the saviors of the world, but towards the people of the world, the infinity of nations. Everybody deserves their rehabilitation, mostly the innocent people. Of course, those who can't stop fighting and hurting other people, they should be punished and taken down. But the innocent people, they are educated, they are they have, career goals and everything, families. So sad. So now some positive things about the Middle East. There was one thing I loved when Malala made the speech at the General Assembly, and she was saying it's time to call Afghanistan how they should be. And then Marco Rubio, just 2 hours later, he said, I declare Afghanistan is now a state of lawful detention. This is true collaboration and recognition of the work of civil societies and Nobel Peace Prize laureates. So when the law protects women, lives change. Malala. Beautiful speech by Malala. For a long time, I believed that my voice could make a difference, that things could change. But today, I stand here heartbroken. Never have I seen so many children suffering from war and violence, injured and dying at the hands of unaccountable leaders. I am devastated for families in Iran whose daughters left for school and never returned home. For parents in Gaza who buried their children beneath the rubble of their classrooms. For Afghan girls living under the brutal Taliban regime for nearly 5 years. We must call the regime in Afghanistan by its true name, gender apartheid. So I ask the member states in this room, how long will you allow the law to stand still while injustice evolves? 13 years ago, I believed that speaking in this hall would be enough. Today I know that speeches do not protect us, but law, accountability, and political courage can. Great speech, really great. Yes, the power of words. She says that speech can save people. They can. They really can. I love when I hear a speech from one of these girls like Malala or what's her name? Alan Islam. Mariam Bukar Hassan, the global peace advocate for the United Nations. Charismatic woman, her strong wording. Yes, words can shift a soul. Literally, they are powerful people that all have their own audience. Also, this is why we are all needed. The journalist, okay, our little angel Carl, our little demon Rob, all have their audience that they are talking to and that they can influence. That's why you don't need to have 2 million followers. You just need to have the right ones that you can influence and who can relay the work and the message in their own communities. So these were my students. So this is a family that some of my students, this is an Afghan family. They left Afghanistan when the Taliban prohibited schools for girls. So they left to America with a program, a work program, a work visa, so they could come and bring their daughter to school. So they did all this for this girl right here. Their one daughter, the only one daughter in a whole family of boys. They came to America, moved their entire family so she could go to school. Imagine the courage. Mostly in a country where women are usually, you stay home and shut up, or you get married and have kids, and the boys are going to be working and everything. So the level of intelligence of these people, right? They care about their daughter like she matters just as much as the rest of the boys in the family. And they took all these risks to leave. They say that there were people hanging on to airplanes to escape Afghanistan, where after the Taliban took over. They went into each home to collect the weapons. After that, it was safe. Life was good. My dad was a school principal, so school was my second home. But since they made school illegal for girls, my sister Aisha could not receive an education. So the Americans offered to send us to the US, and a lot of our families left. Here again, it was crazy. There were people in the runway hanging on the planes to leave the country. This is Mohammed, this boy right here, who told me the story. And I'm here telling you, breaking their secrets, because I feel like I wanted to know, I really wanted to know. So I think it's good for the world to know, even though they don't really agree to share that because they're scared of retaliation and not being safe. But I promised that we were keeping them safe and that their story would help reshape people's minds and the laws in our country so they could stay here. So I hope it's working. This is all beautiful portraits of women. So this is what happened when, he was designated in Afghanistan as a state sponsor of wrongful detention, recognizing the Taliban as global terrorists. And that's how it works when civil society speaks up courageously and the government listens. This is my favorite times right there, when we're working together. Even through social media, we have influence. President Trump, recognizing the beautiful women that founded America and the history of America, and sharing that his administration is working every single day to make America better, safer, and more prosperous for women and men. They are really our inspiration, and mostly for President Trump, which we know the amazing influence that his wife had on him and his image and his career. So, great job. Good on him. Yes, surrounded himself with a lot of great people. I love this one. Let's negotiate. They're like, let's negotiate. I will blow shit up. Let's negotiate. I will blow shit up. Trump be like, I will blow shit up. They're like, let's negotiate. Sometimes. So in Iran, our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats. But the Iranian regime. Sorry, guys, I'm yawning. It's a long time just in front of my computer speaking to my screen. It's been 10 years. I will let you read all that. Mariam Buka Hassan, Global Peace Advocate of the United Nations. Let's have a shout out. Coming from Africa, ending up in New York City as a Global Peace Advocate of the United Nations. I do appreciate that the United Nations is really rooting for Africa, because Africa is the continent that has been left out for many, many decades. So she's bringing the power back to Africa, and her elocution is amazing. Her words, she really symbolizes the educated, powerful woman that made it where it could seem a very, very long journey for her. So her father was working for the United Nations, so probably that opens doors, but that also shows that when parents do a good job and they work hard to educate their kids and raise them well with great values, then they can follow your steps and even outgrow you. So great woman and poetry. She just published her book, An Attempt to Freeze Time. We are the daughters of women who survived what should have broken them, and we are raising daughters who will not have to survive the same thing. Every system that excludes women is eventually redesigned by them. And if you are uncomfortable, good, because women have mastered the art of turning no into navigation. And history shifts most violently when those who were meant to be backgrounds step into the frame and refuse to shrink. The girl you underestimate today may write the speech that liberates your daughter tomorrow. And long before the world learned her name, she was already inevitable. Yeah, I think a lot of us probably recognize ourselves here when we just put to the side or later or just asked to sacrifice your career for your family, and then you're treated like a piece of shit who whatever. You give it all for a career, for an organization, and then they just leave you behind, and then it's like the same thing happens to them, and they're that's just sad. I'm just really sad about what happened with the United Nations. Honestly, I see how I was rooting for the Secretary General, campaigning for his Nobel Peace Prize, and really, no matter what, even when they didn't give me a job, even when I lost everything, that I was still rooting for them. Never said a bad word about them. But then they just kept playing those games and ignoring me, and I just really dislike them, to be honest with you. So, anyways, the UNAOC, Alliance of Civilizations, maybe one day, blah, blah, blah. Following the American attacks in Iran, so this is really the badass guys, the FBI. Following the American attacks on Iran, the USA judicial system asked for accountability and organized a friendly hearing in March 2026 with Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard and FBI Director Kash Patel. Overall, the hearing demonstrated the threats from terrorist groups on domestic ground and the solutions brought by intelligence services in collaboration with the private sector. So remember that it's always, you have to take the problem at the root. So they're sending the military out there to stop the problems there at the root, but sometimes you also need to put the band-aids where the hurt is being done on your soil, on US soil. Yeah, this is very impressive. This is one of the things that I really love about the United States and admire is the efficiency of the people and how they're just everywhere. Their intelligence is off the charts. Their technology, it's excellence everywhere. They're just go-getters. And then the counter side, the the counter side of that is the lack of culture, because people are working so much. It's such a productive country, productivity, result-oriented country, that they forget to live, and it's work, work, work. There's no culture, there is no art gallery, there is no fun events unless you're in New York City and you have a few musicals. But besides that, and the TV, the movies, yes, all the greatest movies, they're American movies, Hollywood. This is the culture. American culture is the movies and weapons and wars and like technology. But the social life, there is no culture, basically. I never really made any friends when I was in the US. I was never let into any really any organizations or group or community. My only friend, she was a foreigner as well. So this is the counterpart of too much work, So that's what I was trying to bring. I was trying to bring some culture, and promoting alcohol is not because I'm a drunk, but it's because sometimes you gotta live a little bit and stop attacking Kash Patel just because he went out and had a beer with the Olympians. Like, seriously, just you all calm down. So here they're showing how ISIS targets potential recruits on social media to smuggle illegal immigrants into the US. They're talking about the recruitment techniques of the terrorists, and how nowadays it's a lot of the jobs are just screening, spying on people online. So they criticize the NSA that we are being listened to, but honestly, if you don't have anything to hide, I don't mind that the government is listening to me. The opposite. I'm kind of glad that they're on call listening, so something happens to me, or people trying to do things, against your community or your neighborhood or whatever, then they know. So, we all want God to keep an eye on you, but when God sends its agents to protect you, then they complain that they're listening to your phone. Then go to church and complain that God is watching you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we are all extensions and branches, and you have to believe that people wake up in the morning to do good. Mostly it's seeing how hard it is to work for the government. I've tried to be recruited by the FBI. I've tried to work for the United Nations. I sent my resume to the White House. It's super, super difficult to work for the government. So trust that if they made it there, it's because they have the best intentions. At least for most of them. You're never guaranteed that you're not going to have a spy or someone who freaks out in the middle, or like a doctor, like doctors. Doctors, supposedly they're here to help you, but in America, doctors, they're here to make money. I don't know why. Why? Yeah, it's easy to know why. Doctors, they're here to make money. Why? Because their student loan is freaking expensive. Doctors start their career, they're already $500,000 in debt. So then they have to see 30 patients a day, maybe 40, 50, to make up for their loans. So they don't really care about you. They just want a number of patients. That's crazy. So Narges Mohammadi, very grateful that she's at the hospital now. We are still hoping that they are working on having her prison sentence cancelled, because she was illegally put to jail. So once again, a great collaboration with the Nobel Prize Committee, who has been, making like dozens of calls to try. I mean, we don't know what they're doing behind the curtain. They're probably calling their diplomatic networks in Iran, the United Nations Special Envoy to the Middle East. I am personally on my side as well, begging the U.S. government every day to help out and bring her name into the negotiations. Russia is stepping in as well. So we just wish the best for her, and so she can be an example that when injustice happens to you, your people have your back and they're gonna come and get you. Not that, oh, well, she got caught, too bad. Next. I love that Marco Rubio the other day he was talking about Caroline Levitt, the press secretary, and he was saying she's irreplaceable. We miss her. We can't wait till she comes back, Like, that's loyalty. It's not like, oh, she's gone, let's just get someone else. So loyalty to your people and just have their back is important. This is how you restore public trust. Mid-air refueling. You see how difficult it is? Like, there was an accident during a refueling in the air. But all this technology, how they have to target very specific buildings, military facilities. But yes, like I said, this is all a business. This is a funny image. My tax dollar, somewhat also my tax dollar, still somewhat my tax dollar. 2 gay Hamas terrorists having safe sex. This is also my tax dollars. Like, you don't really know how to get those weapons. Just some people are making a lot of money with it. But look at this. Look at this. This is actually very impressive work that they've been doing. So big up on the War Department of the United States. And, they're just at it every day. Like, they're blowing up ISIS leaders. They're blowing up Iran dictatorship, Venezuela. They're just angry. So they're still on negotiation. And I love that they're keeping us updated on everything. So we are part of the negotiations. Everything is really transparent. I don't believe in conspiracy theories anymore because everything is being filmed nowadays. And I don't think they really have room to hide a lot. This is Caroline Levitt. Congratulations on your baby. She's amazing. I love people who speak really well. It reminds me every day I need to articulate when I speak, but it's not easy to speak a language that is not your language every day. So my whole work is in English, which is not my native language. For me, speaking English is like chewing gum. And Spanish, I actually used to speak Spanish a lot better than I speak English, but I lost a little bit. The future of war is peace. Yes. So do you think we can have a world like this where we all eat together, we're all in peace with each other? Yeah, these are our men to keep us safe. Operation Epic Furry, every week they have, or every other week, they're doing conferences to explain everything. It's really rare. I've never seen that actually a general from the military and the Pentagon come and talk to us every week or every day to explain what's going on in the world. We used to just have to believe what's going on in the news and just it's all the Muslims' fault all the time. Since I was a kid, it's always the Muslims, at least in France. A lot of people didn't become racists because of that. So this is the speech of General Kane. I'm going to let you read it when I post it. Also known as Sonic, mastering technology. And he's just a great man. And I love that they're sharing everything that they're doing. We're learning a lot. We're being a part of it. This is really a peace process. That's why I'm nominating him for the Nobel Peace Prize, him and President Trump and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. So we finished completely destroying Iran's defense industrial base, a core pillar of our mission objective. Apparently not, because they were doing a défilé, marching the streets with their missiles to show that they still have some. Like, literally. They can no longer build missiles, build rockets, build launchers, or build unmanned aircraft systems, so drones. which I'm very scared. Drones are really scared because now they're going to have wars and kill civilians without even having to go out in the field. So this is the day of his nomination, appointment, with his beautiful family. So just imagine, you see your beautiful family that you have here and all your kids. Imagine you all were just born in Palestine and you're just born there and they're attacking you, they're torturing your people. Like we are all born to this world innocent. We need to educate them so they can stay innocent, and not be brainwashed by terrorist groups. But that's really great. Operation Epic Fury, 13,000 targets struck, 50,000 US personnel sent out, Iranian Navy vessels. Like the Navy is coming back to being the Navy. That's the point of the military also. Now the big one, the Gaza files. So you all know what I think about this freaking demon of Netanyahu. I do think he's Hitler, the reincarnation of Hitler. All these people ask for a ceasefire and it just keeps on going. The United Nations, and he's saying, so Netanyahu says, giving Gaza to the Palestinians is like giving a piece of the New York Strip to the Taliban. This is madness and we won't do it. And that was a historic day when he came to the United Nations and he did that speech because, he was very convincing. And yeah, a lot of people were almost cheering for him for all his work against terrorism. And you see who has murdered Americans and Europeans in cold blood. He's not talking about Israel. He's just hiding behind the fact that behind Americans and Europeans to justify his own agenda in Israel. But it's not the same as in New York City. They were born there. So where are they supposed to go? We cannot forget the genocide because we're witnessing it live. So there is already a war restaurant for Benjamin Netanyahu. And look, this is all my conversation with Atham in Gaza on X. When I asked him, because this guy was always asking for donations, so of course I donated. But first, I wanted to ask him questions to make sure that I wasn't giving money to a terrorist, because they can look nice all they want online, and you send them money, and then it ends up in the hands of terrorist groups. So I just talked to him many, 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 many times, and I asked him questions about Hamas, about his beliefs, about what's going on, and he was saying that Hamas is not the terrorists, but the Israeli government had killed his father when he was young already. So this dates back, way back. That Hamas is trying to defend them. I'm not defending Hamas because I think what they did was unacceptable, and that what's happening to Palestine is because of the violent habits of Hamas. But this is just one of the people there that has nothing to do with the conflicts, and he's paying the price, him and his family, of these wars. So we hope that this can stop and they just can find opportunities to participate in rebuilding and all this. All right, guys, you know how to read, right? So I'm not gonna comment on anything. I just wanted to say that I had a vision one day that Netanyahu was the reincarnation of Hitler. So I went up and looked at the date, and I saw that Hitler, he died at the end of World War II in 1945, and that Netanyahu was born 4 years later. So what was happening? I think he was in the purgatory, trying to understand everything that he had done, and that now he comes back to rebalance the karma and killing all the Palestinians that are probably the reincarnation of the Nazis to balance everyone's karma. So that's what I believe is happening, but maybe I'm wrong. And since that's not our job to decide, that a genocide should be done, I think the best lesson, instead of killing everyone and just sending the same horrors in history for the world to witness, our role, once again, is to stand up for these people and see what it feels like when someone is coming to save you. Why does it always have to be learning the hard way? So the curse and the blessing, like you see, he's talking to you in those signs. So of course you would say, oh, if they're the Nazis and he's balancing karma, then we can just let him kill them all, and then the problem will be gone and the karma will be balanced. Yes, but the problem in thinking like that is that you're adding up to your karma, your own. If you're witnessing this and you're not interfering and you're letting this happen, then you become a criminal as well, and this is going to add up to your own karma. So we have to say stop. We have to say stop. Maybe that was a test also. God sending them all back and say, let's see if this time humans are going to let him happen. We're going to use these Nazis as bait, now born Muslims as bait. And let's see if the humans are going to let this happen again. So these are all the theories that we have to take into account. So yes, in January, they sent this chief commissioner of the National Committee for the Administration of Gaza, who was excited to announce a ceasefire. They were going to start the reconstruction, reopen the Rafah crossing, outlining a path towards a more prosperous future for Gaza. And nothing has been done. They're still killing. See, even Robert Grant posted that as well, way before I had my vision. And after I had the vision, I was like, wait a minute, this is what he meant. It took only like 6 months to reach my brain. But sometimes you don't see until the idea comes from you. So then you take the rest of the stuff as confirmations. All right, this is all the Gaza people, Palestinian testimonial. They killed my brother, they killed my father. There is no food. Even if we survive the bombs, we are dying of hunger. It's a human crisis. This is the people like the Israeli soldier killing, executing Palestinians. So many people are denouncing the worst crimes in history. I can't take it anymore. Look at, they tortured this little boy with cigarettes. Like, I can't take it. I can't take this. It's just too hard. It just breaks my heart to see that. Okay, what are they doing? The Alliance of Civilizations. I don't really know what they're doing over there. They have events. Yeah, they have conferences. I guess. I'm not too sure how they've been involved in all these difficult countries. I haven't seen them do much with Russia. They've sent a lot of humanitarian help, but we haven't really seen them get deep into the negotiations. That's why it's so important to share on social media, so we can know what you're actually doing and we can help. Or maybe they don't want us to help. They want us to stay out of it so they can do their own thing, which is okay as well. But the results right now, I don't know. But we don't know how worse it could be without those people working for the good. This is Atam. This is the guy who I talk to all the time on X, whose family is in Gaza. And if you want to give to his, what is called, it's called a GoFundMe campaign, type of, it's shoved. But I believe he's a good person. I even believe he's a reincarnation of Jesus, who is here to witness as a journalist of what's going on in Gaza, because he's been pretty protected. He was born on Jesus' birthday as well, so December 25th. So yeah, before we have left, the real estate business burned down Hawaii, and now Gaza, and now everyone is done. But yet, they're not doing anything. The Nobel Prize Committee as well, who's been strongly against Netanyahu many times. They voice their opinion. So yeah, that's the ICG, like the Pentagon would be like, if I find you, I will kill you. The ICG is like, if I find you, I'll let you fly above the entire European Union on private flight, not do anything. Like, what the hell? Yep. So I'm getting a little bit tired, guys. I'm gonna just post this and let you read it. But this is all my ideas on how to. This was from my master's degree. My master's degree research on how they rebuilt the country after the genocide of the indigenous people in Peru in the 90s, when Fujimori went on behalf of the IMF, who asked Peru to solve poverty. So they solved poverty by killing the poor. So they went and they started a vaccination campaign all around the rural zones of Peru and the jungle and all of that. They said that they were bringing free vaccines. And while they were vaccinating people, they were also forcefully sterilizing women, indigenous women, so then they could not reproduce and therefore end those communities that live under the poverty level. So imagine, then he has been arrested, and all this is my suggestions on how they rebuild, how the people need to have rights on their properties, on their own human rights, on the laws that are going to be reestablished after during the rebuilding of Gaza. Of course, the cooperation, they should be integrated also in those peace talks. Yes, protecting their rights, and they were talking about the rights of properties as well. The people who had properties on Gaza, they should be given back their properties after, so they can be a part of the system. So the worship service, here I've put this crown. Of course, I'm still campaigning no matter what. Like, yes, there are mistakes being made, but you know what? Who never makes mistakes? The people who don't try anything. Okay, so Gaza, the Middle East, this is a conflict that's been going on for years, decades. And at some point, they had to make a choice. Like, they're sick of these people who fight. So you have to take a side once and for all and just fight with that side and then figure it out. Okay, so they had to make a choice. Now, this was probably out of control because of the Prime Minister of Israel, who couldn't stop. But man, they're trying. So here is this rat of Netanyahu. Even Vladimir Putin now is turning against Israel, and they were friends. So, yep, they are joining a case against Israel at the ICG. So imagine. So this one, he says, yes, Netanyahu wanted us to strike. He came to President Obama. He made a presentation to ask to strike. President Obama refused. President Biden refused. President Bush refused. The only president who has agreed to this, obviously, is President Trump. So this, I think, is for Iran, right? But once again, this Netanyahu trying to serve his interest in convincing. Yes, so it is undeniable that Iran needed a reset, as their treatment towards their own citizens has been denounced by international organizations and their populations for years. Now with platforms like X, we can see the proofs and videos real time. So this is all I already said. I'm not going to repeat it. It's a long video. That's Malala. With weapons, we can kill terrorists, and with education, we can kill terrorism. Once again, on both sides of the... Or this is an image that makes me think of Narges Mohammadi waiting for her rescue and the world watching her. And what's going to happen to magician. This is all their explanation on how they magically target all these facilities, their successful operation. This is really interesting. The power of telling story, Nadia Murad. The final judgment. So of course, we have to remember that I believe a lot of our circumstances in our lives come from past lives, and also maybe the pacts that we've made with certain people, with certain entities, to come back here as an incarnation. And some people become extremely powerful because they made pacts with some certain entities, sometimes good ones, sometimes bad ones, but they lead us, and in exchange for some other things, there's a lot of things that are happening. Like, sometimes I can't wait to die just to see the whole, because I think when you die, you don't have the limitation of the flesh and your conditionings and stuff like that. You actually you become the Akashic records. You can have access to all the truth. And I see this genocide happening again, the exact same thing that happened to the Jews, and I want to know if that's mandated, by God, like Netanyahu believes he's mandated by God to accomplish that redemption, or if we're all going to be damned for it. The Trump Gaza, the Gaza towers, all this stuff built on blood. Yes, that's not really good publicity for the Nobel Prize, I know. But no one is protected from being manipulated and from making mistakes. But the Middle East is a big mistake, that's for sure. We need to solve this. Like, we need to take this guy down. Netanyahu is just such a bad influence. He's like this kid that's taking you in all the problems, and then you end up in jail because of this troubled kids that gives you drugs and stuff. See, the world will not be destroyed by those who do evil, but by those who watch them without doing anything. I believe that. And next time someone says ceasefire, you should listen. I think it's going to end badly. Honestly, I believe it. The United Nations support humanitarians, reward humanitarians again and again. Of course, we don't want to discourage all the people who serve all their life and work to help others around the world. We want to reward them, because if they don't, they're going to lose meaning of their work, and you're going to have less people who want to go and help other people because they end up killed and no recognition. But I ain't campaigning for you anymore because I'm pissed off. So find someone else who wants to campaign for you for a decade for free and not give them a job. Yep. So this was Palestine at scale, Israel at scale, Earth at scale. We all think, that's just a small land, but we are all someone's best. We're all someone's nobody, and we are all someone's everything. Oh yeah, like then I wrote that. We are all someone's nobody, and we are all someone's everything. The courage of Palestinians sharing their testimony, the courage of world leader who's starting to stand against Israel, Spain, Hungary, Italy. This is kind of some images between, people who shine at the top and all the nasty thing you have to do to get there. Honestly, all the dirt you have to walk through, all the, the crawling, all the, the fighting you have to do also. Yep. So to conclude this chapter, let's be brutally honest. What looks shiny, perfect, and successful on the surface is often the result of a lot of efforts, lots of secrets, lots of mistakes, risks, or mess-ups. I do believe that our president and his teams are genuinely trying to help the world and make it better. They are good people who care, they left profitable careers or lives to help the government become more relevant. Secretary XXst, he was saying, when they were telling him, why do you want this big budget? Like, you're trying to, to launder money and stuff like that. He's like, I don't need, like, he has money from his career as a journalist. Like, he's a millionaire, but he's like, I don't make any money from those deals. He's a government employee. He has a fixed salary. He's like, nobody owns me. I just do my job because I care about America and I care about helping the world. So this means stepping into dirty ground where nobody dares to go. Sometimes it means trusting the wrong people. People are tired of cover-ups and being lied to. So let us be clear. The United States of America have invested $2 trillion into weapons to go beat up extremist terrorists in South America and the Middle East. This concerns us because if we do not do anything, their refugees invade our country and bring violence and poverty. We are also recuperating the oil and uranium and establishing a quasi-global monopoly, which can turn to the advantage of the global sustainable development goals once we officially decide to step away from fossil fuels and cancel nuclear weapons. The positive points of those wars is that no matter how much Ukraine and Russia hate each other or how many times I asked President Putin to blow up Israel, nobody has gone far enough to use their nuclear weapons. This means that we have learned from history and that we are ready to admit that there is no more use for those shields. Another great outcome is the solidarity from the global community who finally decide to fuck up this motherfucker of Netanyahu and take him to court. This man has most likely convinced the USA to protect his anti-terrorism plan, which was needed through manipulation and blackmail to fulfill his lifelong genocide agenda. Literally, the first thing this guy did when we started posting kind of like files was like blackmail. He was like, oh, you want to take me? Blackmail, blah, blah, blah. I told you that even a mosquito can ruin your freaking life if it's convincing and stubborn enough. That's me. Well-surrounded and relevant. I told you that transparency and integrity always win, and basically you're welcome. He cost us 2 Nobel Prizes last year, but not anymore. Now we do not forget the tragedies that have happened along the way, such as the tragic bombing of the Minab Elementary School that was apparently located over an old Iranian Navy base. Pomia, they should not have happened, and you are not forgotten. Okay, so this was the old Navy base. So this used to be this whole square right there used to be the whole Navy base. And now this was turned into a school. And when they blew up the whole complex, they didn't know there was a school there. So we all lament and regret this accident with the most sincere apology. And we will help with the reparation. Hopefully, I speak as if, I was part of the team. We do not know if this attack was carried out by the USA or Israel or Iran itself. Israel blatantly pointing fingers at CENTCOM, create a lie, by the way, while the US reserved a statement affirming that this is not representative of our goals nor practices. All 3 parties have denied responsibilities, but most likely when things go silent, it's because we're protecting people who we care about and who are essential to our nation. So we do not know if the outdated information was provided by insider terrorists in order to jeopardize our government officials and have ground for blackmail later on. But basically, I wish that we could work together in the same direction instead of putting more obstacles to a work that is already risky and difficult. Everybody wants to be a hero until they have to do it and put their own life and career and freedom at risk. And then they make a mistake and everybody wants to attack them. So that's why we're protecting them. Like I said, if you never do anything, then you don't make mistakes. So remember that we are all in team humanity. What I know is that clean wars are difficult. The United States have conducted unquestionable operations all around the world, sparing civilians as much as possible, work transparently with weekly press conferences, with one isolated incident that is not even confirmed to be incumbent to us, where we're saving millions of people from a new nuclear threat in the hands of confirmed savages. While Israel has killed, raped, and mass murdered children and civilians for 3 years, we are not the same. Blame it on them and let his ass rot in jail. Definitely. Now let's free Narges and all the innocent. That's my take on this. I do think that it was probably a mistake. Like, they haven't revealed exactly the results of the investigation. There will probably... Who gave the outdated information? Was that a strategy from Democrats to push them to make a mistake so they could blackmail them with something later, or have something on them? Or was it Israel who just did what they do best and just kill kids and civilians? Or were there people of interest in that school that we wanted down and unfortunately other people took for it? Or it's really a mystery, but what I know is that they were really affected by it and that everyone sent prayers and apologies in their own ways. So yes, that's the thing though. I mean, people want to play with weapons and then they complain when the weapons turn back at them. So that's what happened in Iran. So this was a cool post that I saw. I shared it because it was about the charisma and the place of people, and how they lead their negotiations. And they said they didn't hide the plan. They showed you who they sending. Yeah. All right, this is it for Israel. Tomorrow we're talking about Russia. So this was a very heavy file, another hour-long video. I've been very affected by this, mostly when things don't go your way and when you really trying to help people and be a part of the negotiation and trying to not feel so helpless. And you still see the same images and the same methods happening. It's just exhausting. Like NATO, we're talking tomorrow about NATO and Russia, how much you're giving them negotiation points, and they're just doing business. So just know, war is an economy, and it justifies employment of the military. It justifies, income for the country. So sometimes we can keep trying to convince, but there are things that are already planned out, and there's people sacrificed in the middle. That's unfortunate, but that's the world we live in. All right, guys. Well, have a good day. This is a very long chapter, but it had to be in the history books, just like there was World War II, and there were what happened to the Nazis and the Jews during World War II, and how people got out of it, how the resistance, helped the Jews, how countries stepped in, like always America, to help finish the wars, the mistakes with the nuclear weapons. All this is what prevents us from making those mistakes again. So it had to be written, and we're still in the middle of it. It's not over, but we keep going. Everyone, have a great day. Thank you for being with us today, Carl and Rob. I love to watch your news. Can't wait. You guys always make me laugh. Also, I'm very grateful for your contribution of relaying the information in your own way and preparing the minds. Sometimes you take detours to inform people, but subconsciously the energy, the frequency just goes through anyways, and you're preparing the mind of people. I know that changing mindsets about religions, bringing new information about religion, this is what has brought a lot of violence all around the world. So, already grateful that the journalists accept it, welcome it in a very friendly way. It hasn't not always been like this. I've been called all kind of names when I first brought this stuff, received death threats in my house and all of this. So, your help is deeply appreciated. When I got to America, I remember I was in a brunch place, in a little gas station, having brunch with my ex-husband. And I wasn't even married at the time. And there was Obama, President Obama, on the TV. And there was this guy. He was just yelling at the TV, well, la, 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 look at this asshole, motherfucker, blah, blah, insulting Obama. I'm like, what's your problem? He's like, well, look at him. I'm sure he's a Muslim. I want to see his birth certificate. And I don't know, that shocked me, because where I come from, I've traveled all around the world, and it's completely normal to work with people of all colors, of all nationalities. And he was like, oh, I'm sure he's a Muslim. I want to see his birth certificate. I was like, well, even if he was a Muslim, what prevents him from being the president of America? Okay, yes, America was built on Christianity, but it's also the melting pot. People came from all around the world to America, and even though Christianity has been the main pillar, in my opinion, there's only one God, and we all call it a different name. It's the same thing that created us. No matter what we believe doesn't matter. What I believe doesn't matter. What you believe doesn't matter. Because no matter what, the only one truth that is real is that we were all created by the same thing, okay? No matter what we call it. So I feel it's kind of minimal to agree on that point, and that then everybody brings it in the name of their religion. Now, the problem with Muslims, and it's like an aggressive religion. This is why America is scared of Muslims, and they probably would not want a Muslim president, because it's not compatible with the culture. But President Obama was a very educated, civilized, charismatic, and man with a lot of humor. And if he had been a Muslim, it would have been the example for all the other Muslims of what you could become when you educate yourself and you open up enough to be an example for society. So when you have, and just like Etham in Gaza, this guy I talked to from Palestine, who is very educated and very nice, and I'm like, see, that's why I posted in my book, because I'm like, you are the example for your community of what they should be, and not like aggressive barbarians who can't stop making wars. So when you find people like this, you actually have to put them in the top, in position, so they can become role models for the rest of their communities. So it's not very difficult to understand that. But unless you're presenting it in the right way, with the right words, and with people who identify to you, this is why it's so important. And I love when I have Christians, people who are deeply religious and believers, like Marco Rubio, or like Carl Higbee, who claims many times that he's a Christian, and who are interested and welcome things like the tablets of emerald and this mentality, because the people who identify to you for Christianity, they will listen to you. If then you bring something and you say, well, I'm a Christian, but I also can accept that other perspective, I also can accept that, it's not incompatible, maybe this is the same God from another era that they called them differently, and at the time the culture was different, so they had other experiences. Jesus is not the only experience with God in the whole history of the world. Many people had experiences with God. Just Jesus is the most famous one, that they made him his prophet. But there has been prophets all around the world, and then these prophets made religions, just like Thoth and the tablets of emerald. And the people who love the tablets of emerald, they identify a lot to me or to Billy Carson or to the masterminds, because this is our book and we talk about it all the time. So this is how, once again, this is how the Incas were converted by the Spaniards. They were animists, so they were worshipping animals, the moon, elements, the wind, blah blah, the mountain, the sun, the stars, all this stuff. So the Christians, when they came and they wanted to convert the Incas, they started taking their symbols and putting them in their churches. So the Incas who were coming in to worship their moon, their stars, their sun, over the generations, they started worshiping Jesus and Mary and God. So now we're doing it backwards, all these people who think Christianity is the only truth and they hate Muslims because they're scared of Muslims, they slowly will be opening back up to other things. And I think Christians are probably going to be the easiest people to convert, because they're kind of educated, like compared to, I'm not saying that Muslims are not educated. There's a lot of very, very smart people, Muslim educated people. I'm saying that their religion is a lot more conservative. I remember going to Tunisia when I was a kid and telling them what I'm telling you. And they were like, no, there's no other God. No, there's no other God. There's only one. This is the only truth. And they were like really aggressive about it. And I remember I was like, okay, I'm not going to talk about this or they're going to kill me. But they were, besides that, they were really nice, welcoming people, amazing. But this was a topic that you could not defy. So, education and events, cultural events, gathering people from different cultures and stuff, very important. And yes, and having, like I said, role models, people that are admired, that are listened to, that are true believer in one religion. When those people come in and they say, well, there's another truth, and they're, then you're making the way possible for others to evolve as well. So important, my little angel and my little demon. All right, have a great day, everyone.